This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. This is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 800-610-7035. Email xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 24/7, 365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Angela Artemis, and Angela works with intuitive coaches who are frustrated and tired of working way too hard for too few clients, who want to stop doubting themselves so they bring in more clients, grow their income, and feel authentic and self-assured in the process. Now, she is a best-selling author of The Intuition People, award-winning blogger, intuition expert, and business success coach. What Angela's really good at is rooting out the inner barriers that keep coaches from making more money, knowing their worth, and confidently stepping out and proclaiming their expertise. Her passion is teaching women coaches to learn to trust their instincts in business, heighten their confidence, and eliminate the limiting beliefs that hold them back from becoming wildly successive entrepreneurs. Joining me now is Angela Artemis. And Angela, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you on your path to, being the author of the Intuitive Entrepreneur's Business Mentor.
It started like anything. I think if you look back over your life, I realized as I got older, I had a career in finance.
Right.
And I started to realize after 7-8 years, it wasn't what I really wanted to do. And as I looked more deeply into it, I realized that I hadn't been listening to my own inner feelings.
Oh.
I had been ignoring my intuition. I did what I was supposed to do when you get out of school, and I got a very good job, and I thought that was what you were supposed to do, and you just had this life after 5 o'clock. It never occurred to me that you could marry what you were passionate about and what you love to do with your job. So eventually, I think like many people, it's probably very common, you hit a certain age, you're about, your 30s, and you start to say, wait a minute, isn't there more to life? So I started to study intuition very deeply, and I realized my biggest problems were all based on the fact that I had been ignoring my intuition. And so as I got clearer that was the way, that's what really led me to start my website, write my books, and eventually become a business success coach. It all really centered on intuition.
Fascinating. Well, what exactly is the intuition principle?
The intuition principle is what I based the book on. I truly believe, after all the research I've done and just looking back over my life and the many clients that I've counseled and coached, I have found that when people attune to that inner voice, when they allow it to come through and they listen to it and follow it, they are more apt to find that they are on the road in their lives that makes them the happiest and that actually leads them to be more successful. Because I think that if you're doing something that you love, you're probably already good at it inside. There's a part of you that wouldn't love doing it unless you were good at it. So listening to that voice and allowing it to lead you on this path that you were meant to be on actually is the intuition principle. The principle that we arrive at where we are supposed to be elegantly and in the most joyful way in our lives when we let our intuition lead us.
Why don't we listen to our intuition? Why is it such... a lot of people say, well, it's the little voice inside of me, and why don't they follow that?
That's a good question, Rob. That's the question I must have asked myself, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of times. And what I found from interviewing many, many people, and from my own experience, of course, was that it really comes down to fear. We have so many fears that are operating inside us at cross purposes, to what we say we want out of life.
Right.
But inside we have all these fears that are working against us. And one of the things with intuition is, of course, we can't see it, we can't touch it. It's not something tangible. And so we tend not to trust it. And of course, because we live in such a busy, noisy world today, and, you see people walking around with their phones strapped to their ears, and no one has any, disconnected time. There's so much distraction. Intuition is fleeting and quiet. And if you are constantly distracted, you will not hear it. It'll just be like this quick little flash. You'll miss it. So because of those things, it's not tangible, you can't see it, you can't touch it, and it's so quick and we're so distracted, and then we're full of all these fears that are sort of working against what we say we want to do. All of this combines into this big, massive block that many people have about hearing their intuition.
Now, you mentioned that because intuition isn't tangible, that people just kind of basically fluff it off.
Yeah.
And yet, love is nothing tangible. Belief is nothing tangible. And yet people gravitate towards love and belief. Why don't they do the same with intuition?
That is a great question. I think it perhaps because people find love, people get married, people have children. Love is something that eventually you see the results of. But I don't think there's no way to say that your intuition may have been the direct guidance that led you here or there, or you really can't prove it.
Well,
no one else could buy into it.
Okay, now I used to be a cop.
All
right, and I used to get that gut feeling, or my intuition would kick in. And I'll tell you something, it never let me down.
I believe you.
So
I totally believe you.
I believe in intuition. I believe in that gut feeling that you get. It never let me down. So I have a hard time hearing about people who don't believe it.
Well, I think one of the big factors in successfully following your intuition when you hear it instead of waffling or ignoring it is confidence. A person who has more confidence will listen to their intuition. If there are any self-esteem issues and a lot of those sabotaging voices in the mind, those fears, though a person who has more of that static going on in their mind is more apt to overlook it, ignore it, and just question it. They'll have a lot of second guessing of their gut. I bet you were probably a very, very successful cop, too.
Yes, and I use it today in broadcasting, in journalism. No matter what I do, I always listen to that inner voice, and it has never steered me wrong. There have been times when I thought it was wrong, and I went against it, and I was proven wrong. The little voice or my intuition was proven right.
Yes. That's a great way. A lot of people say, well, how do I know? How can I tell my intuition from my other thoughts? How can I start trusting it? And what you just said is the perfect example, Rob. If people are able to locate an incident in their lives where they ignored their intuition,
Right.
and it turned out to be right, and then they go back and deconstruct what happened. What were you feeling? What thought or gut feeling did you have? Try to locate that pivotal moment when you knew, because usually you know.
Oh, sure you do.
When you hear that and you just kind of think, no, I'm not going to listen to that, or the moment you make a decision against it, you hear that, that sinking gut feeling,
Yeah.
I know I made a mistake. If people locate that, they will know without a doubt how it comes through for them. They'll have a benchmark to measure against for the future that they can then use as a measure of experience, and they'll get better and better. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Practice makes perfect, no matter what it is, yeah. What is the World Wide Web of Consciousness, and how do you connect to it?
That's a phrase that I coined that's in the book, The Intuition Principle. And what I call the World Wide Web of Consciousness is the fact that we as human beings appear to be separate. I'm in my body, you're in your body. But truly, energetically, and probably from a scientific viewpoint that I am probably not capable of explaining well enough, we are not separate.
We're all connected.
We're all interwoven into this energetic tapestry of life that we're all a part of.
Yeah.
And so what I call the World Wide Web of Consciousness is all of us together creating each of our own awareness and a fabric of consciousness that if I wanted to say, I want to see what is Rob feeling right now, my consciousness could connect with your consciousness through this web because we're all interwoven and part of it, and I could have an intuitive feeling for what you might be feeling. And we would have maybe an empathetic connection.
Right.
Because we really aren't separate. So that's what I call the World Wide Web of Consciousness.
Could that be the mechanics behind psychic phenomena?
I think so. I absolutely think so. Because to be honest, a lot of times I use the word intuition because many people, they don't resonate to the word psychic, or they don't believe, or they're very skeptical. So I personally believe that intuition is your own inner guidance that comes from within you. But I truly believe that if I were to connect to you, that is going outside of myself, and I am making a psychic connection to you.
Right.
And that would be, yes, the World Wide Web of Consciousness would somehow, we are connected, and I can tune into you outside of myself psychically. So that is an intuition, but I use that word, and again, I think I'm guilty of as many people are, of mixing the two phrases, and I think they are totally different.
Why is it important to empower coaches and entrepreneurs from the inside out?
Well, it goes back to what I was speaking about before with confidence.
Right.
Everything we do in that manifests in the physical world around us really is truly a reflection of what's going on within our own consciousness. So if you want to be truly successful at whatever you do, regardless of whether you're a coach or in any other profession, you need to have a mind that is free of those sabotaging voices. Because success begins on the inside. And if your world is going to reflect what's going on in your mind, if your mind is chaotic, if your mind is constantly having that chatter and the type of sabotaging voices that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not ready, you need more training, they're going to laugh at you, or whatever it is.
Right.
The world around you is going to reflect that. You will meet up with people and situations that will mirror those beliefs that you have within yourself. So if you want to be successful, you need to tame those sabotaging voices in the mind.
So once again, it comes down to a matter of self-confidence, self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly, because if you have those voices and they're running wild, they're running you, right? You're not running them. And your whole life will always be challenging because you have this fear inside. You have this feeling that you're not confident. So everything is exerting yourself to try to overcome that. Even if you have a cool, calm exterior, on the inside, everything is really, really chaotic. And it's not a happy way to live.
No, it's not. Why is personal and intuition development the missing key to success? Like that's a key question right there.
Well, again, these are all related questions because if you are going to be highly successful,
right,
as you grow in whatever career, profession, or whatever it might be, you need to develop new skills. You need new ways to cope with different problems, possibly bigger problems that you have never encountered before as you grow and get bigger, so to speak, in your career or your profession and your life. So you need to continue developing yourself. You need to have some sort of a practice, perhaps meditation or some other type of practice that allows you to quiet the mind and be reflective, go within. And when you do that, your intuition is also heightened. And as you become more successful and your attention is being pulled to many, many different things as you, grow and you possibly on a bigger stage with all these distractions will really block out your intuition. So you need to develop a practice of personal development that keeps you grounded and centered so that you grow in consciousness, expand your consciousness, and also keep in a strong connection to your intuition. Because without intuition, like you said earlier, if you ignore it and you look back and you see you made mistakes. Yeah. But intuition is it's sort of a shortcut. It's the answer. It's like getting, instead of going around a mountain, it's like going through a mountain. It's fast. It's lightning speed, highly, highly useful information. And if you ignore it, you will probably make more mistakes that you'll have to backtrack and fix so that you won't be as successful. So as you become more successful, you need to be sure you have this practice of personal development that is a part of your day, every day, that keeps you grounded and also connected to your intuition, or what I also like to call higher intelligence.
Couldn't just focusing on the task at hand with an ear open to the intuition work just as well? That's what I do. Like, I'm torn 15, 20 different ways each and every hour of my day. What I do is I focus on the most important task at hand as guided to me by my intuition.
Yeah. That sounds like mindfulness, that's a practice of becoming so present to what you're doing that all the distractions fall away and you don't allow them to, deteriorate the quality of mind that you're in that state.
Yeah, it also works great when the wife wants something and you just have to keep focusing on what you're thinking about. So you
a selective focus, right?
Yeah, my mother says my father has selective hearing.
I've heard that. I know people that have that too.
Oh, yeah. What is the number one question you get asked when you're going and addressing these coaches? And I can't see it being very easy for these people to sit down, and because they are coaches, they don't want to admit they're wrong or that they've been missing the big picture. So how do you approach that aspect of it?
I haven't found. Maybe it's me. I've been very lucky. The coaches that I know and work with, They don't see it as being wrong with their intuition. They see it as that's maybe one of the missing pieces that will help them be more successful. So they're very open to developing it. But the most common question I get is, how can I learn to trust my intuition? And it really comes down to practice.
Doesn't it also come down to trusting yourself? Because your intuition is you.
Yeah.
So if you can't trust your intuition, you're basically saying, well, I can't trust myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just put it beautifully. That's it. They would have to take baby steps like anything else.
Right.
Not leap into, the race car going 100 miles an hour, but take the slow way. Every day decide that first you're going to have an intention, that you're going to hear your intuition. You're going to become more aware of that little voice inside. And everything begins with an intention, so it's really not that hard, but you need to create the intention and honor it. And once you have that in place, tell yourself that every day for 10 minutes, if that's all you can do in the morning, you're just going to sit there just before you get out of bed and just close your eyes and go within. Because if you tell yourself that it's important, your subconscious mind will say, hey, you know what? I'm getting a command that this person wants to be in tune, wants to hear what's going on within. And so what'll happen is this will all sort of work out where your inner voice will become a little bit louder. It will stand out more because you created the intention and the practice of going within. And then what you need to do is commit. If you get a gut feeling or an idea or a hunch or a pull towards something, do it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying, don't start off with the biggest one where, you're going to take your life savings and invest in some wacky scheme. No, let's not do that as the first one. But something like, I have exercises in the book in the intuition principle. When you go to the grocery store, just check in with your gut and say, which line should I choose that will move the fastest? And you can easily judge whether you were right or wrong because there's a line next to you and a line on the either side, and you'll see, okay, did I choose the right one? Do something simple like that. Or when you go to the post office, say, what time should I go that it won't be crowded? Or something simple that you really don't have a lot to lose. But as you do that, your confidence will grow as you make right choices. And you'll learn to trust your intuition and thereby trusting yourself, just as you said. But it doesn't, you have to take those baby steps.
You gave some examples about the grocery line, and I'm saying to myself, if you need to build your confidence based on what grocery line to go into, something is drastically wrong because you just look at the line, see who the best cashier is, and go in that line.
Sure. Well, maybe that's not the best example, but it's, to me, what I wanted to point out is don't start with something so huge that if you were to be wrong, the consequences might, be so traumatic that you would never want to trust your intuition or yourself. Just start with something small, insignificant. I mean, it could be, as I used to do when I worked very far away, I could choose 2 different routes.
Right.
And because I live right outside of Manhattan, there's always traffic and a lot of tie-ups. So I would try to choose the one that I thought that day would be the best. And I could easily find out if I was right or wrong because I could put on the radio and hear the traffic report. So that's another way you can test. And just to see, what are you being pulled? A lot of times our intuition is a pull towards something. It may not be a voice. And I know a lot of people ask me, I don't see anything. I ask my intuition, I don't hear anything. And for some people, it's more of a gut feeling, that feeling of being pulled towards something, a feeling of excitement and enthusiasm toward doing a particular thing. And that's a very valid way that it might come through for you.
Why do some entrepreneurs do so well and others hit a glass ceiling?
That's a good question. It's funny. I have been working with clients who are having that problem, because some of the work that I do is centered on breaking through your internal money blocks. And what it normally comes down to, everyone's life experience is different, but at some point in their lives, they decided that they weren't smart enough, they weren't worthy enough, they had a comfort zone that they were very comfortable in, and if they went beyond it, they felt very insecure, and that comfort zone is the glass ceiling in their income. So it really, again, it always comes down to that inner voice. If you're hearing an inner voice that's sabotaging you, it will manifest in the physical world as limiting you in some way or another. And many times it's in how our finances are working out or not working out. So that inner glass ceiling is a state of mind. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I just wonder how many times during a person's younger years, formative years, that something that mom or dad or a member of the family says that really puts that initial block into them.
Oh, you would be surprised. I would have to say that it's probably like 90%.
Wow.
Yeah. Because those formative years, when you're in school, up until age 7, you're pretty much a sponge. Whatever your parents say, it lodges pretty deeply into your mind.
Right.
And then as you're a teenager, those things really start to play out. Did mom and dad, did they tell you weren't smart?
Yeah.
Did they have a pecking order in the family? This one was the pretty one. This one was the one that was going to be an actor, and this one was the one that was not too smart and should do this for a living and not that.
Right.
As you become a teenager, and how cruel teenagers can be, that's a very difficult time for a lot of kids when they're in junior high and high school. Those voices actually start to really become louder because you're very insecure as it is. And then everything around you starts to mirror those beliefs. So you start to see it even more. So you believe it even more, and you take it with you into your life as an adult. I can't tell you how many people I know who feel that they're a fraud, who feel that even though they're successful by any measure, by any standard that you would say, well, that person's doing very well. They have a great life. They have a great business or whatever. Inside, they feel, oh my God, if they only knew, they would think I was a fraud. I'm not that smart. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I really don't know enough. All these voices are plaguing them, and they have this horrible insecurity inside, and they feel that they are a fraud. It's very, very common.
That's sad. That is truly sad. Angela, you and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back shortly. Thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Angela Artemis is our special guest, Exonation. Her website is poweredbyintuition.com. And Angela and I will be back on the other side of the short break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Just don't forget, Exonation, that September 30th, Wednesday, Stanton T. Friedman debates Michael Horn. The topic? The Billy Meyer story. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, and I'll be back on the other side of the short break. Don't go away. The ability to access the knowledge of the universe is much easier for us to access than we may believe. Brad Johnson, conscious matrix communicator, is one of these unique individuals who is able to access a strong connection to the universal mind. Through his connection, Brad has assisted thousands of clients from all over the world through natural intuitive assistance. The intuitive information received is vast, covering a wide range of subjects. Brad's innate ability includes being able to access one's own universal matrix to help them realize their potential to create a life of profound greatness. One-on-one private sessions with Brad Johnson are available to anyone from around the world. Brad is also a proficiently trained psychic, Akashic Records reader, an online spiritual teacher, founder of his own unique and powerful healing system, Body Regeneration Healing, as well as a professional conscious channeler in communication with his own higher self-consciousness known as Adronis. For more information or to book a service appointment with Brad Johnson, visit his website at www.consciousmatrix.com. That's www.consciousmatrix.com. What if someone told you you could live to be 120? Would you believe him? What if he told you the Bible guaranteed it? All you needed to do was follow his rules and buy his products. Would you do it? What if you invested 20 years of your life in him? What if he tested his substances on your child? What if your child became brain damaged as a result? Meet Dr. Tyler Belknap, a fast-talking Texas admin turned health guru. At the helm of a vast health food and supplement empire, he has established himself as the authority on nutrition and longevity. But what his followers don't know is that his products are laced with bizarre psychoactive substances from genetically modified plants developed in his very own secret lab. No wonder his customers can't stop using them. Tyler Belknap will stop at nothing to keep his edge in the market, even if it means experimenting on children. Chasing 120, a story of food, faith, fraud, and the pursuit of longevity, a novel from the pen of political cartoonist Monty Wolverton, is an easy and entertaining read full of rich characters and intrigue. It hits home in a world filled with all kind of hucksterism and offers a glimpse of what can happen when GMO technology falls into the wrong hands. Chasing 120 by Monty Wolverton. Get your copy today at www.ptm.org/120 or on Amazon.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
Hi, this is Ken Elliott. When I'm floating around the universe, I always try to tune in to Rob McConnell.
Hi, ho there, Trinity Frog on Sesame Street. When I want to find out what's going on with UFOs or ghosts, I listen to the X-Zone with Rob McConnell.
This is Les Corrigan from Target Internet Development. You're listening to Rob McConnell on the X-Zone Radio Show.
This is John Hogue, Prophecy Scholar, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X-Zone.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. Angela Artemis is our special guest. www.poweredbyintuition.com, and she is the author of the Intuitive Entrepreneur's Business Mentor. She is the Intuitive Entrepreneur's Business Mentor. And are we seeing more and more entrepreneurs coming out on the market these days?
Yes, I think there's a huge tidal wave of entrepreneurism happening, I think after 2008, when the whole world rocked in a global economy that went down, 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 people lost their jobs and started to get very serious about finding a way to take control of their financial destiny. And that's what happened to me, and that's why I'm here today, because my industry, which was the financial sales industry, just sank like a stone. But I think that people are looking to entrepreneurism because they feel or they fear that they don't have control over their future. A lot of corporations, it's not like it might have been after World War II where people got a job with a company and they might have stayed there until they retired and they were sort of taken care of by the company. It isn't like that now. So yeah, the answer, I think there's a tidal wave, a huge wave of people entering, trying to build their own business.
Is it harder for a person who works out of their home to follow their intuition, or is it harder for a person who works outside of the home in an office or with other employees to follow their intuition?
I think it depends on the person. If you need quiet, if you need more solitude to connect to your intuition, you might find that you have an easier time at home where it's quiet. But for me, as I became better at it and I started to realize that that was the driving force that I had been ignoring, I would hear it at work too. And I think the loudest thing, if anyone is at work and they're hearing, get out now, you don't want to do this anymore, that's your intuition. And you can hear that loud and clear at the office.
True, very true. Would it be advantageous for parents to start growing the intuition of a child?
Yes, I think that would be very helpful to the child's future, because by telling the child, well, what do you think? What are you feeling?
Right.
What, you could say to a child, what are you guessing? What's your best guess about what we should do or what you should do? They may not understand the concept of intuition, but they might get it if you phrase it that way.
Yeah.
I think it would really help a child to develop that inner sense of confidence with their own decision-making process. I also think and I wrote about this in the book actually, if you have a parenting style that is very, very controlling. If you have a parenting style that's very, very controlling, and you're constantly trying to override the child and move them in the direction you want to go, and you never give them any autonomy to make their own decisions, that will contribute to them having a difficult time later on trusting themselves, listening to that inner voice, and identifying what they want over what somebody else wants them to do. And they'll be much more focused on doing things to please others.
Right.
And it will eventually, as they mature, they will become very discontented and unhappy, and they'll continue to be insecure, and they won't know why. And it's because they keep looking outside of themselves and to please others because they don't know how to connect to what they want, who they are authentically inside.
So this would be something that an overprotective parent would install into their child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are some of your success stories?
My personal success stories?
No, the people that you mentor.
Well, for them, the common success story is realizing, it sounds sort of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, but that they actually had a strong sense of intuition all their lives, but they didn't want to admit it because they were so scared.
Wow.
Because as I said, the common question is, how do I trust my intuition? How can I know for certain that it's not just a whim? A lot of people feel, well, what if it's just my whim that I want this so badly, and I'm just wanting the answer to be do this, when in fact my intuition, and I'm not sure or I'm not clear which is telling me to do something else. How do I know the difference? Like the wishful thinking versus the intuition. And the biggest success stories have been when coaches were able to get quiet, go within, and ask very simple questions. Questions like, if I didn't have to worry that I would make a mistake, what would I do? If there were no consequences, what would I do? You very quickly know what you want to do when you're not worried about the consequences. And that's usually what stops us is fear. Fear of making a poor choice, wrong decision, fear of ridicule, fear of losing something. There's another question that I have them ask. What if money were of no concern? What if you had all the resources, all the money in the world, and that was not a factor in your decision? What would you do? So that immediately reduces any resistance. And so you immediately know what you want to do.
So I understand the importance of intuition, that gut feeling. You do as well. But for the people who don't have that ability, who are in decision-making jobs, if they can't click into what the intuition is all about, is it a good idea for them to get out of that field?
Oh, I don't know if I would go that far. I mean, I think if a person has been successful and they don't think they've been using their intuition, or they seem to feel that they haven't been connected to it, I would argue that they probably have been, but they just didn't know it. If you've been unsuccessful and you keep coming up against constant roadblocks and problems and drama, and all kinds of twists and turns that are, very challenging, well, then I would say maybe you're in the wrong profession, and you obviously haven't been. Maybe you just weren't supposed to be there from the from the get-go.
Well, would you say it's possible for someone to be successful without using intuition?
I don't think so. I don't believe that. I think that people who are successful are using it. They may not call it that. They might call it a hunch.
Yeah.
They might say, I suspect that it would be best to do this. Or,
well, couldn't they also say it's their business sense that they made the decision based on that?
I think you could call it business sense, but I think they have a knowing. They may not want to call it that, but if you make a decision and you feel a sense of knowingness about it, there's a kind of a feeling that it's settled. There's a calmness around the decision. There's a sense that you just know you made the right decision. That is your intuition. So yes, they might call it business sense, but it's their business intuition sense.
So what would you suggest, or what would you say the fastest way to help coaches build successful businesses and the lives they love would be?
They should not be focusing in an area of having a coaching practice that they don't love. A lot of coaches who have great talents and gifts, perhaps they're a life coach, and they really, really have a great knack. They have great empathy. They have great intuition. They can read between the lines. They can read a person, and they sort of get this bug that they need to become a business coach when that's not really their passion. I think if you really want to be successful, you need to do something that you enjoy doing. I mean, and there have been many people who have risen to the top and maybe they didn't love what they were doing. But I don't think you can have a successful life that way. How can you go to work every day and hate what you do? So if you really want to be successful...
Well, because you need that paycheck. You've got 3 or 4 kids to take care of. The alimony payments aren't cutting it anymore. The cost of shoes, this, that, and the other thing. I know a number of people who go to work who hate their job, but they love the paycheck.
Right. Well, I was one of those people, Rob. I had that was why it took me so long to leave, because I did have that.
Yeah.
And I was really torn between giving it up, but I wasn't happy. I mean, the moment that you got your paycheck deposited into your bank account, there was like, woohoo, okay, wow. But then after that, it was like, oh, I have to do this again for the next 2 weeks till I get that again? Uh-oh. I don't think I would call that being successful. To the outside world, it might appear to be successful, but you're not in alignment with your authentic self. And
yeah, but I understand. But if you've got mom or dads who feel that way, and if they're working so long and so hard for that paycheck, and if they want to change careers, they're going to have to go to school. They're going to have to be retrained. It takes time away from the family. It takes more time in studying. It's very complicated. Shouldn't people think about this first before they start a job?
Yes. Well, that's what it comes back to when you ask me what put me on this path, is I didn't think about it. I just, I got recruited, like many kids that are coming out of school, you get recruited by a big company and you think, wow, that's a big name company. Wow. And they dangle a nice little salary in front of you and they think, well, we're going to put you on this management training track. Okay. I didn't think about it. So, yeah, I think it would be better.
You see, when I was growing up, there were 3 things I wanted to do. And I did them all. And this was when I was a kid. I was 8, 9 years of age. I knew what I wanted to do. And I knew the path I had to take in order to accomplish each one of these steps.
You were very lucky.
This is the freedom and the support that my brother and I were given by our parents.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and it does come at the environment that you're raised in affects you. And if you can't help but absorb the beliefs and the paradigms that your family of origin have. So if that was your experience, then you were absorbing something totally different than probably I was. Yeah. And that was why you were able to do that. And that's, probably, I don't know, I have no idea what the percentages are on that, but to me, you sound like you're very fortunate.
I know I am, dear. I truly bless my stars each and every day. My mom and dad are in their, either 89 and 88, and they're still with us, thank God. We have 6 children, 7 grandchildren.
Wow. That's awesome.
And it's all because of, well, I credit my parents with it. My wife credits her parents with what she's brought to the family, and we just instilled the same virtues, the same principles in our children. Like, I'm sorry, there were 3 meals a day, and you had to be home for breakfast, you had to be home for lunch unless it was a school day. You had to be home at supper. No TV when supper was on. Supper and any meal was when you communicated, you expressed what was going on in your day, what troubles you were having. You solved problems as a family unit. You did things as a family unit. I am terrified to think of what is going to be happening to our future with all these kids who just sit in front of a computer screen. Or they don't communicate. LOL, LMFAO, and whoa, what is coming?
I agree with you. I think it is very scary because you think we are leaving the world in the hands of the future generation, and it is frightening because they don't have the social skills anymore. And it's even. I heard recently there are some school districts here in the United States that are going to discontinue teaching penmanship because, everyone types on a computer now. So why should they learn how to write? And I thought that was insane. But, yeah, it is very scary. There's a lot of, because of the technology, I think that people are fractured. They're not whole. And they may not develop. I don't know what the future holds, but it is scary. I don't disagree with you, Rob.
Yeah, hell, when I went to school, we never had cell phones. We had a dime to call home if there was an emergency.
Right.
And why, even my wife, I get ticked off at her sometimes because instead of talking, she texts our daughter.
Oh,
Pick up the phone and talk.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, gang. Yeah, technology is great. But I think that it's not. I think technology is dictating to humanity instead of humanity using technology. But that's a topic for another show. So what have you got planned? What have you got planned in the future?
Well, I am working on a new course for coaches who have a fear of sales. Because even if you're a coach, you do need to enroll clients into your programs. And because I spent so many years as a financial salesperson on commission only, I would not have survived had I not mastered this skill. So I'm working on a program that we use mindset techniques to alleviate their fears around sales and teach them the proper way to structure an appointment with someone to close a sale. But they'll never close it if they're afraid. So the whole point is we go through this whole practice, and every step of the way we're using a mindset technique to help them overcome what fears are surfacing during different points of this sales conversation.
Now, do you have any more books coming out?
I do not have a book coming out right now. There is one that is percolating in my mind, and it's going to be out about money, and it's going to be about self-worth and self-love, and how that translates into either having money or not having money. But I don't have a date that I'm actually giving birth to this book yet, Rob.
Okay. I understand that you have a free gift for our listeners. Yes, I do, actually. If they are interested if they are coaches and they would like to download, I have a free training for them. It's about a 50-minute audio training that I did. And it is called the 9 Mega Mistakes Even Smart Entrepreneurs Make that keep them working way too hard for too few clients. And they can find this. I actually have a link here. And if they go to www.poweredbyintuition.com/free training -9 mega mistakes, they'll get the recording. Sounds like a plan. Listen, Angela, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. And I wish you much success, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you. Take care of yourself now, young lady. That's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. So from everyone here at the X-Zone Broadcast Network, the X-Zone Radio TV show, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, and our good friends at the Starcom Radio Network, remember, do something nice for someone, whether it's opening a door. If you can dig into your pocket and give to those who are needy, please do. And always remember, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay.